Hey, what's going on, sports fans? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, and welcome to another edition of the Gumbo Sports Podcast, where we talk some of the hottest topics in all of sports. On this edition, we're going to be focusing on the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys. And to help us out, I have a special guest with us here on the Gumbo Sports Podcast. She covers the Dallas Cowboys, and you can check her out on her podcast entitled Girls Talk, Boys Talk, along with Haley Sutton and Jessica Tavares. I'm talking about Iisha Morrison. Iisha, how you doing?
I am good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk ball with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of the Gumbo Sports Podcast, giving us a few minutes of your time to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys last year in 2022, I mean, they made a lot of noise, having double-digit wins, being right there in the thick of things, especially in the NFC East. Watching a Philadelphia Eagles team that was red hot towards the end of the season in that shootout versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys got that victory in epic fashion. But now we fast forward to 2023, and both teams are trying to, try to jock for position here in the NFC East. But let's go ahead and start up with your first-round draft pick, Mazi Smith, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Tell us a little bit about Mazi Smith, and what do you think the thought pattern was for the Dallas Cowboys selecting Smith in the first round?
So, well, first of all, I had the pleasure of meeting Mazi at rookie minicamp. This is not only is the player a fantastic player, but also too just getting an opportunity to meet the person. I see the character and the reason why, like, they wanted to draft him even off the field. Right. But also, when you talk about the Cowboys, we saw a couple years ago that stopping the run began to be an issue. It began to be a serious issue, so much so that it got them knocked out of the playoffs for multiple years. And I think they went out and got Jonathan Hankins from the Raiders this past year, and bringing him in and seeing the improvement in the run game. It just jumped. Like, the fact that they had a true nose tackle really allowed the edges to be free.
Right.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay?
No, you're okay. You're okay.
But it really helped out. Those linebackers and allowed them to play a lot more free as well. So it was just hard to deny what you saw on the field. If I'm not mistaken, I think that the Cowboys' run defense improved by a yard every time that Jonathan Hankins was on the field, and that's insane. So with that being said, they saw, hey, okay, this allows our defense to be so much more free. Let's try to do that. And it's crazy because I covered the draft this year, and Mazi was a name that we talked about early on, but we convinced ourselves ain't no way the Cowboys are taking a DT that early, because it's not something that they have done for quite some time. So when they did it, it was a surprise, but it's been a pleasant surprise to a lot of the fans. It seems like.
Yeah. I look at Mazi Smith. Not only do I do the Gumbo Pie, I cover the New Orleans Saints as well. Right. And he was on a lot of New Orleans Saints media members as well as fans' draft boards. So, I mean, what he brings to the table, like the energy, the high motor that he possesses, and it's definitely going to be a key addition to the Dallas Cowboys, like you alluded to, you know, being able to be that run stuffer. If I'm not mistaken, he's probably like 330 pounds. So just adding that in the middle of the defensive line is definitely going to help. But let's stay in the first round, Iisha. I don't know how true this was, okay? But the Buffalo Bills did jump in front of the Dallas Cowboys to select Dalton Kincaid. And we know that, you know, you all were looking for, you know, a tight end. You know, your tight end, Jeff Swain a couple of years ago, he ended up going to the Titans. Your other tight end, he ends up moving on to the Houston Texans. So Dalton Kincaid was a huge name, you know, that everybody just expected the Dallas Cowboys to actually go after. Was there any truth behind the fact that the Dallas Cowboys were just completely enamored with Dalton Kincaid? And how upsetting was it that they weren't able to select him? He instead went to the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, so from my understanding, it's been reported several times that Sam Laporta from Iowa was actually one of the guys that they were really, really touting. I think that maybe there was some interest in Dalton Kincaid, because why wouldn't there be? Right. But from my understanding and what's been reported so far is that Sam Laporta was really a guy that they were interested in. Really gritty player. People spoke very highly of him. And then also, too, when you think about Iowa, it's one of, to me, they're like the Spurs back in the day of you know what I'm saying? Is because they're going to be fundamentally sound. Yep. Like they're gonna come out, they're going to be coachable, they're going to know how to be in like a pro level offense. So I understood why the interest would be there. And honestly, the Lions are trying to put something together over there. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that he would be a good addition to the team, but that's not how things worked out. They ended up getting Luke Schoonmaker, and they seem excited about what he can bring to the team as well.
Yeah, I like Schoonmaker a lot. You know, I think that he is a really good pass catcher, and also he's a above average blocker. I think that'll be help out a lot. I like the analogy you use with the San Antonio Spurs and Iowa. I can easily call them tight end U. You know, you think about George Kittle, you think about Noah Fant. You talk about you know, the tight end that just came out. I mean, so they have a lot of talented tight ends, but you know, I was just wondering because, you know, you look at guys like Kincaid, also Michael Mayers, you know, that came from Notre Dame, and I was just wondering, you know, was he that number one guy on their draft board, and were they upset about that? But I mean, Schoonmaker, I mean, this guy, I'm telling you, he's going to be a really good addition to your team. There's going to be a little bit of a change, I guess, when it comes to defense. Micah Parsons, you know, mostly playing linebacker, trying to be a defensive end.
Well, actually, we spoke to Dan Quinn earlier this week, and you see at rookie minicamp, and he kind of cleared the air a little bit about that, and he said he would refer to him as a pass rushing linebacker. So because even though and don't get it twisted, I think that Micah played like 80% edge last year, so I get it. He's putting on the weight and stuff so he can be callous, building that body up. But I will say that the cool thing about Micah is when they could rush him from anywhere, that really is what made it. Yeah, I think that's what really made the defense hard to defend. So we'll see to play against. So we'll see how they change things. But I think that they still will possess some of that ambiguity of where he's coming from, even if he is playing a lot of edge.
Right. I mean, do you think that it's going to affect him at all? I mean, the weight gain, from what you actually saw, like, do you feel like it's going to be a drop off, or it's going to be like a tough transition for him?
No. Like, so let me tell you, man, just being around Micah and having the opportunity to meet Micah, I just think you can see it with some players. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that you can recognize this is not a normal player in a sense. And so he's putting in the work right now. You can see some of the boxing things he's doing. He's trying to figure out how to get better at countering, putting on strength. I mean, he's doing the right things, and he's such an athlete. Like, I don't think that it's going to affect his play. If he is trying to put on more muscle and things and really callous his body to deal with the brutality of playing edge, because people don't get it.
Right.
That mess is it's a war out
Yeah.
there. So if he is really trying to do that, I think that whoever he's training with and what he's doing, he's probably smart enough to know how it's going to affect his play. But I don't think it's going to slow him down.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if it did slow him down, what is he going to be? He's already significantly faster than most of the people on the field at all times. So
yeah. I mean, look, he's a really good pass rusher, and I mean, he's a really good overall football player. I mean, just the energy that he comes with every single play, and he definitely has emerged as one of the leaders on that defense.
yes.
I mean, you look at some of the let's look at the offensive side of the football before I get to the quarterback, which everybody wants to talk about. But let's talk about some of the new additions. Let's talk about Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, he comes over from the Houston Texans. Brandon Cooks is a weird situation. Like, he started off with the Saints, right? And then he ends up getting traded to the Patriots and then traded to the Rams and then traded to the Texans. But it just seems like with the Texans, they couldn't ever get on the same page. And it seems to me, everything that I've saw, him moving on to the Cowboys, it seemed like it's a breath of fresh air. What do you think about Brandon Cooks, the new addition to the Dallas Cowboys? And what do you feel he can bring to the Dallas Cowboys that they may have missed last season?
Yeah, so there were some rumblings last year towards the trade deadline that the Cowboys were pursuing Brandon Cooks. They had interest in Brandon Cooks. Obviously, he voiced some of his opinion about how he felt about being in Houston for several reasons.
Right.
Their quarterback situation has been strenuous, and I think that's really that could be hard for any offensive player to be dealing with. So I understood. Right. But one thing that the Cowboys really lacked last year that I think that he brings to the team is just that sure route runner, third down. Like, granted, CeeDee Lamb was a third down monster, not going to take away from him. Mm-hmm. But to be just that security blanket type slot guy for Dak, but also Brandon Cooks possesses the ability to go over the top. And so I think that also, like, the team speed on the offensive side of the ball improves with him. And we've seen that speed is something that can vastly improve an offense. So he brings the route running and being that slot, that dependable, my quarterback's in a pinch, like this veteran guy. I mean, because the wide receiver core is fairly young with the Cowboys, like, say what you want to say. So, I mean, CeeDee Lamb's the number one, and he's in his third year. So, is it fourth year? Barnacles. Is it his fourth year?
Yeah, I think it's his 4 year.
No, it's not. It's his third year. It got to be his third year. It's his third year. It got to be his third year. So
it is. It's his third year. Yeah, it's third year.
He's pretty young. So to get that veteran guy in there that can be that security blanket, really work that slot, and then also, you know, people have to respect the other two. Like, there was a real disrespect for whoever the two receiver was last year for the Cowboys. It really was, because I mean, you can definitely use CeeDee Lamb, but if you watch the 49ers game, once Tony Pollard went down, there was not another guy that was there that could get open and to really help out this offense and help out the quarterback when he needed it. So Brandon Cooks brings that and reliability. He seems juiced, man. Like, it's so crazy because when you mention Brandon Cooks, you feel like he's been in the league forever. Like, you feel like he's old. And then you look and you're like, oh, this dude's 29. He's only going to be 30 this year. Yep. I'm like, oh, no, he got something in the tank still. That's crazy. Like, crazy to think. I thought he was old.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, he's always been talented. You know, when the Saints drafted him, like, he came in with that legendary wide receiver group with Mike Evans and Odell Beckham Jr. Like, he came in there with those guys. And, you know, he was coming out of Oregon State. He won the Belinda Koff Award. He was always talented. I don't know exactly what happened with the Saints, why they traded him or whatever, but
listen. He was traded so many times because he's good. Like, it's so messed up because, like, I think a lot of people look at him being traded so many times and it's like, well, what's wrong with him? Because that's kind of how we look at being traded. But when you actually have value, I mean, I think that's what happened, because, I mean, 6,000 yard receiving seasons is kind of crazy, my guy. Like, you go look at some of the quarterbacks he was playing with also, you're like, no, this dude can play, and he obviously knows how to get open. And he obviously is somebody that quarterbacks deem reliable. And that's something that Dak Prescott really needs. I don't think he's had that in the slot really since Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be healthy for him in his journey as well.
Yeah, I mean his route running ability is incredible. You know, I mean, I just love to see him run routes because I mean he's so fundamentally sound.
Yes.
But he definitely can be that wide receiver he can lean on third down, crucial situations. You know, if CeeDee Lamb is being double covered. Let me ask you about Michael Gallup. I mean, I know he's been dealing with some injuries and stuff, but I like Michael Gallup. I think that he's a very underrated wide receiver. Every time I see him play, he's always coming up with a clutch catch or a catch that just eye popping.
Right.
I know he's dealing with some injuries, but what do you think about Michael Gallup? What kind of 2023 do you see Gallup having?
So I see him bouncing back, being removed, 2 years removed or from that ACL injury that took him out. I think a lot of it had to do with his mental and being confident in his ability. And I have to check myself mid-season. Sometimes we got to check ourselves, right? Like I had to check myself because I was being hard on him. And then I had to realize like, oh no, this guy still is getting in the ease of the game. And to your point, talk about some of the catches he makes and the things that he can do doing sideline work and stuff. He needs to trust his legs. Like he's one of those players. Like the boundary work is insane. The footwork is insane. And if he's dealing with ACL, planting, that type of stuff, I think that was something that was difficult for him. Also, too, the offense, a lot of the offense that I felt as though the Cowboys ran last year was not conducive to a guy like him coming back from an ACL, hitch, digs, those type of things probably were a lot more difficult for him transitioning back. So I look to see him bounce back because he adds to the versatility of the wide receiver room and what he can do. Not every guy in the wide receiver room can do. They all can do different stuff. And so I think you need him as that boundary guy. I think you need him as that go ball guy. Like I really would like to see him get back out there.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Gallup when his contract was up a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, this guy gonna end up going somewhere and be a number one receiver. But Dallas Cowboys, they extended him. I was like, wow, he's staying. That's how much respect I had for him. And during this time, like I said, covering the New Orleans Saints, all they had was Michael Thomas. I was like, man, a guy like Gallup opposite of Michael Thomas would be dope. But like I said, that shows you like how much respect this organization have for him and how they, are willing to rely on him because they know the type of talent that he is and what type of talent that he possesses. Let's talk about the running back position. A little bit of a changing of the guards, right? Ezekiel Elliott, mainstay, longtime Dallas Cowboy, legend, if you know who you talk to. He's a guy who, carried the load for a long time. The Dallas Cowboys decided to move on from him. And now you have Tony Pollard and rookie Deuce Vaughn, which I thought was pretty dope. His dad was able to make the phone call and ask the D to come to work with him. I mean, that was touching right there. Actually make that phone call to your son. But Deuce Vaughn coming to the Dallas Cowboys and also Tony Pollard. What do you think about the 1-2 punch between these two guys? Do you feel like maybe the Dallas Cowboys need to be looking maybe at a little bit of more of a bruising running back? And if they have one on the roster, who are you looking at?
Yeah. So Tony Pollard, I think, is still obviously recovering from the injury he had against the 49ers. And we hope to see him back, for camp. But past that, they also brought in Roschon Johnson from the Chiefs.
Right.
So we'll see what there's going to be some competition at camp. And then you also have Malik Davis, who showed in flashes. I don't know if you're familiar with Malik, but yeah, you saw him in flashes like, okay, this guy is a running back as well. Right. And then obviously, there is Deuce there. But there was a undrafted free agent that I'm looking at, Hunter Lipke, and he from. Yeah,
North Dakota State, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
This gentleman did more tight end type stuff, but he does have that fullback in him, right? And so I wonder if bringing him in, they're looking to maybe use him in some short yardage situations to kind of mediate that, because he is a goal line monster there as well. But don't get it twisted. I think that it gets lost in the sauce. Like, Deuce Vaughn is not a bruiser, but you can run between the tackles. If you go look at him at Kansas State, they used him in short yardage situations, and he was successful. Not only was he successful against some of the best D lines in the SEC. So this guy still actually he can produce there. And maybe you see Dak Prescott in some more QB sneak situations. Maybe you see him running the ball a little bit more this next season as well. So I think that they will figure that out internally. I personally don't see them bringing anyone in for that.
Do you? Okay, I got to ask this too. Is there a possibility that they re-sign Ezekiel Elliott? Do you see any possibility of him possibly coming back to the Dallas Cowboys if he continues to stay out there on the street?
How do I say this in a nice way? It ain't my business. Like I personally feel like, looking at the running back room, it looks pretty deep in a sense right now. Like, I mean, I think it's like 5 deep right now. So if they did, it would surprise me, especially since there's other teams right now that it looks like the Chargers, the Bucks are interested in him. And also, too, I spoke about the depth that's there. I don't know if he's going to feel like, as a veteran, he got to work his way up like that.
Right.
So,
yeah, understandable. But
all good vibes to Zeke.
Yeah. Like I said, he's a legend. You know, he's a legend. He's given Dallas Cowboy fans so many great moments. And, I wish he has continuous success. So, but let's talk a little bit about Dak Prescott, the quarterback. It's one of those situations, depends on who you talk to, what type of quarterback is Dak Prescott? Is he a good quarterback? Is he on the verge of being an elite quarterback? Does he have the capability to lead the Dallas Cowboys where they need to be? In 2023, what type of season do you think Dak Prescott can have? And what will it take in order for Dak Prescott to finally emerge to live up to that potential that many believe that he has?
Yeah, I think it's gonna come down to this OC change, man. This OC change and this scheme. I know they said that they're only changing like 30% of what they do, but that 30% could be, hey, we're not going to run all vertical routes on a 3rd and 10. We're going to have some underneath stuff so our quarterback isn't in a panic. I think that a lot of what just listening to Brian Schottenheimer and some of the stuff that I think that they want to do is, he said he wants to be fundamentally sound and they want to be physical. And if you look at the 49ers, you even look at the Eagles and how their offenses were run, it's simple. It's simple football. It's not, I'm about to sneeze. I'm sorry. I don't want to. Woo! Okay, my bad.
And a quick dab. Okay, gotcha.
But it's simple football. It's crossers. It's not anything crazy. And I'm hoping that there's a simplicity to how this offense is run, and guys can just go play fast and be sure of what they're doing. And that there's purpose in what they're doing as far as like the game plan and how things go. Really, for Dak Prescott, I think that he needs I don't know. I think that it was time for a change, and I think that it's going to be healthy for him moving forward to just seize a different opportunity. And for the offense, looking at Brian Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy's past offenses, they were successful, but they were successful because they did regular fundamental football stuff well, and then they just sprinkled in nice wrinkles every now and then. And I think that will work in this NFL.
Yeah. I think Dak Prescott, he has all the tools to be a really good quarterback. I mean, look, I know people like to talk about the stats in late games, but here's the reality. Like, he, to have that capability to be able to be in those late games, to be able to facilitate those comebacks, they have to have something there. I guess it's a matter of like having less of those late game heroics and being able to stay within the game throughout, and I think that is what has been lacking. And I like Brian Schottenheimer. I think he's one of those guys that can get the best out of a quarterback. And I think that, to me, I feel like this is an upgrade. I mean, no disrespect, but I just think that is an upgrade from what you all originally had. And I think that Dak Prescott can have a really good, solid season with Schottenheimer being his quarterback whisperer. But we mentioned the NFC East. You talk about the Eagles. You got the Giants. They making playoffs. The Commanders. I don't know what's going on over there. But you look at all these teams. It seems like they're starting to figure it out. I mean, NFC East a few years ago was one of those divisions. Like, man, what's really going on over here? And then last year it became like one of the top divisions to watch. All right. But looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. And I watched the Dallas Cowboys games. It was nip and tuck. It wasn't one of those games where, one team blow out the other and it was just, one was flexing his muscles. They were like right in the thick of things. What do the Dallas Cowboys have to do in order for them to catapult past the Philadelphia Eagles in 2023? I'm not mentioning the Giants because I still feel like they got some growing to do as well as the Commanders. I'm more focused on the Philadelphia Eagles because I feel like that is the team that you all have to contend with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, when you look at Philly, you got to figure out a way to counter that offensive line. Like that's and that's what you do with the addition of Mazi. You got to figure out how to counter that domination from their offensive line. Now, granted, I think that they had a change at guard, and also too they have an OC change, so we'll see how things Philly for them. But that offensive line really could take over a game and dominate to a point to where their offense was just like literally just like direct snaps and just shot. Like it was so simplified because they were moving bodies around at such a high clip. And so for me, looking at the Cowboys, I think that's like we spoke about early on the first round pick. I think that the step in the right direction for them is a Mazi, like to counter that. But because like you mentioned, like they were neck and neck when they played. And again, Brandon Cooks coming in is huge because last year, Michael Gallup was, like we talked about, battling back from injury. And you could tell that defenses knew that, right? And also, too, you got CeeDee Lamb who's balling his tail off. I mean, he cooked Philly every chance he got. I don't know what they had going on. But if in several of these games that the Cowboys lost, you thought to yourself, like, if they just had another receiver that could get open on their own, it's curtains. Because they were sending a safety over to CeeDee Lamb all the time. So to me, you add the receiver and then also too and some explosiveness on the offense and the D line. Like that D line gotta beef up because, man, listen, the way that Philly's offensive line be moving people out the way. Yeah. Sometimes you watch it and you're just like, I wonder what that feels like to like not be able to win at the line of scrimmage at all. Like, and they did that to several teams last year. It was impressive.
I seen Lane Johnson like take his left arm and just completely like just toss a guy like a grown man over 300 pounds completely out of the way. And I mean, you look at guys like Jason Kelsey. I mean, those are some tough guys to go up against. Right. And you mentioned, the addition of Mazi Smith, beefing up on the defensive line. That's how you win a division. Most those fans, they look at, oh, we need this, we need that. What you need is to be able to counteract what your opposition is doing within your division. Exactly. So you got to be able to neutralize that because we're not talking playoffs if you don't win your division more times than not. So you got to be able to counteract what Philadelphia is actually doing. I also think, and I wrote this in an article on Gumbo Pod Sports today. I said that I feel like Jalen Hurts may take a step back because Shane Steichen, is now the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And I can just think about like some of those other quarterbacks who had those monster years, like Matt Ryan in 2016 when Kyle Shanahan left and went to the 49ers. He took a step back. And the list goes on and on. You see these quarterbacks who have these monster years. and then all of a sudden they lose a guy, their coordinator, their whisperer. They probably get another opportunity at a head coach or coordinator job, and they take a step back. So I'm looking at him like I don't think he's going to completely fall off, but I do think that you're going to see a little bit of a change. It's the same thing with Josh Allen last year when Brian Daboll went to the Giants.
Right.
So I think that might help the Dallas Cowboys, and also, like you said, the key additions to be able to beef up that defensive line to be able to counteract the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. My final question for you is about the strength of schedule. According to the schedule makers, the Dallas Cowboys are tied for fourth when it comes to the toughest schedule. What type of role will that play in the Dallas Cowboys' success in 2023?
Man, listen, man. They got us in the cold in December. Lord.
Oh man.
Lordy. Listen, I will say one thing. Having the opportunity to be around the team this past year and really getting the feel for Mike McCarthy. This coach understands how to get those guys ready for those games. Like he's very strategic in how he prepares them, how he rests them, how he does things for them throughout the weeks, like preparing. So I think that they'll be ready to play. But also too, the Cowboys' schedule is always nuts. I think every year they play 3 games in 12 days. Like almost every season, because of how the Thanksgiving Day game falls.
Right. Good point.
So even though I understand that the schedule is going to be hard, I think that they'll be prepared for it. But I will say that December stretch is nasty. December stretch is it's gonna make some people out of them. Let me tell you, like through that battle tested, they should be good to go. So hoping for a healthy December.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's gonna be tough, but I mean that's what happens. Like when you start to emerge and be like one of the top teams in, the respective conference or division, I mean, your schedule is going to reflect it,
Yeah, so it shouldn't be harder than Phillies. It shouldn't be harder than the Super Bowl. Come on.
You got a point there. You got a point.
Nah, it was like, I think Ashley Nicole Moss, she pointed it out, and I'm like, you know what? You up to something. You know what? Because I thought I was the only person seeing it. Yeah, there's hard, and then there's the Cowboys schedule. So they'll have to just prepare their hearts and minds, I guess. I mean,
it's gonna be extreme. It's gonna be extremely tough, But like I said, if they're able to get past this gauntlet, I mean, I'm looking at this like the overall opponent record would combine in 2022. 156, 128, and 4. So a 0.549. I mean, that's insane right there. That they're going to go up against some tough teams. But if they can actually, get some double-digit wins out of this, I mean, who knows? I mean, you get into the postseason, you never know what can happen. But Iisha, thank you so much for being a part of the Gumbo Pie Sports podcast. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to us a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys. But before you go, let us know how we can get in touch with you.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Iisha Morrison. So that's IISHA. It's Iisha with 2 I's. Morrison. And I'll be on Girls Talk, Boys Talk this Thursday, actually tomorrow at 10 p.m. Central Time. So you folks can come out on DallasCowboys.com and watch. And I appreciate your support.
Yeah, appreciate you for stopping by. Once again, check out Girls Talk, Boys Talk. And also just all the content that they have over there. You guys are killing it, doing an outstanding job. It was a pleasure meeting you all at the Combine, and look forward to seeing what you all have to say. And good luck to your Dallas Cowboys in 2023.
I see you, man.
All right, take care.